Melody Shari. In addition to being incredibly inspirational, her path has also been devastating. And believe me, you will want to see this film through to the end because it is not just about Melody. It is also about how her brokenness became her strength and the reasons why so many people identify with her. Melody Shari and Martell Holt were a picture-perfect pair when Love and Marriage Huntsville initially started. They were parents, business people, homeowners, and business partners. They appeared to have everything together from the outside. They were constructing homes, companies, and what many believed to be a solid family. However, the flaws became apparent as the series progressed. Furthermore, these weren't minor cracks. Rather, these were fissures that revealed the truth about what Melody was truly going through behind closed doors. At that moment, we realized that the individuals closest to us might occasionally be the ones preventing us from moving forward. Now, I saw how impassioned people were when I first started hearing fans discuss Melody's predicament. I kept hearing about this group of Melody's ardent supporters, known as the Malameters. I initially believed it to be in other fan groups. Exaggeration. However, the more I read the comments and focused, the more I realized people were rooting for Melody because they identified with her, not just because she was a reality TV personality. In her story, they found reflections of their own suffering, heartache, and hardships. In addition, many of these women had experienced betrayal, deception, manipulation, or destruction at the hands of a loved one, and they recognized a part of themselves in Melody. I finally understood why the Malameters go so hard at that point. It goes beyond simply enjoying a TV personality. It has to do with recovery. It's about witnessing someone overcome their brokenness and muster the strength to get back up. Because of this, a large number of people visited her page, left comments on her life, and offered her steadfast support. Because for many people, Melody's narrative is more than just entertainment. It's their reality. And you will understand why this narrative speaks to you if you have ever been in a situation where you felt trapped, deceived, or damaged. Melody believed she had created something strong when she was with Martell Holt. They marketed themselves as Huntsville's power couple, started companies like Holt and collaborated on the Comeback Group with Kimmy, Morris, Letitia, and Marsa Scott. However, if the foundation is flawed, what good is success? We began to witness Martell's rage, his retribution, and his attempts to mentally destroy Melody. It was more than simply adultery. It was also about contempt, control, and a man who refused to let her go even when it was obvious that their relationship was toxic. And you know what struck with such force? Melody had 4 children with Martell, so she wasn't just battling for herself. She most likely felt trapped at one time after giving birth to their youngest, as if she had no choice but to continue enduring. But then that time arrived, that tipping point. She came to the realization that she could no longer remain broken on that day. She needed to get up. She had to go. Her entire life changed when she at last heard God's voice asking her to go. Let me now take a moment to emphasize this. You won't want to miss the way this story develops, so stay tuned until the very end. Being broken and being blessed are 2 very different things. And Melody's experience demonstrates how faith can transform one into the other. The blessings started to come when Melody eventually left Martell. It wasn't simple. The demon that was attempting to hold her down forced her to flee both physically and spiritually. Martell wasn't prepared to part with her. In interviews, on social media, and even on the show, we have witnessed him lose his temper. It's obvious that he didn't want her to move on without him, whether he was criticizing her parenting, accusing her of cheating, or attempting to tarnish her reputation. The problem is that nobody can stop God when he decides it's time. Despite Martell's best efforts, those weapons failed to stop her. Now consider the smile that is currently on Melody's face. In previous seasons, she would mask her suffering with a smile. She had to continue for her children, her company, and her reputation. Now, though, it's a genuine smile. That smile is the result of a lady who has survived the trenches and emerged stronger. That is the smile of someone who is aware of her blessings, protection, and purpose in life. And we've all worn that phony smile at some point, ladies. However, Melody's grin today. That smile is a testament. Seeing her change is powerful. From being confined to a loveless marriage, she became independent. After being Martel's wife, she became her own boss, a role model for many, and a woman in her own right. And she continues to shine despite Martel's continued attempts to undermine her. She continues to demonstrate that nothing can stop you from following your calling. And placing your confidence in God. Not to mention that other members of the cast were also witnessing things unfold. Both Letitia Scott and Marcia Scott have different views, and Letitia and Melody frequently disagreed. Letitia's mother, Miss Wanda, also expressed her disapproval of Melody, while Stormy Steele tried to determine her position among all the commotion. Destiny Payton also experienced ups and downs with Melody. Then there were Morris and Kimmy Scott, who frequently attempted to maintain their objectivity but were unable to ignore the mayhem. This was actual life unfolding on screen, not simply a plot. And what do you know? The audience sensed it. The show got so addictive because of this. It was about betrayal, healing, and transformation, not just economic transactions or who was building what house. Melody evolved into the show's lifeblood and went beyond simply being a cast member. Let's face it, without her tale, the show wouldn't even exist as it does now. However, I truly want you to remember that Melody's tale is not unique. So please watch through to the very end because it's crucial. It is also ours. It serves as a reminder that there is always a way out, regardless of how shattered we feel or how stuck we believe we are. A chance to rise is constantly present. Sometimes we have to reach our lowest point before we truly understand how powerful we are. Melody likely doubted everything when she was in her valley. Will my children be taken by Martel? Will he ruin my companies? Will he destroy my joy? When you're broken, these are the ideas that come to mind. She maintained her religion, though. She persisted, even if it was only a mustard seed of faith. That mustard seed sprouted. And now look at her thriving, radiant, and a live example of the power of faith. And let me add this. Your blessings not only get restored when you leave, an unequally yoked arrangement, they increase. With Melody, that is just what occurred. The doors began to open as soon as she released Martel and the poisonous cycle. Opportunities began to present themselves. And the current globe. That is the work of God. However, Melody and Martel are not the only characters in this tale. It's a larger discussion about healing, relationships, and self-worth. After seeing her story, a lot of ladies thought, "That's me. I experienced that. I'm still